What's going on, and welcome to Fantasy Sports Today. My name is Tom Vecchio. Last week I was here filling in for George Kurtz. Today I am here filling in for Craig Mish, and George Kurtz is back. George, we have a loaded show to get to. Welcome back.
And it's good to be back, right? It's a great time for fantasy sports or sports in general, right? We got the NBA playoffs, the NHL playoffs, baseball's in full swing, and of course the NFL draft. We've had the first three rounds over the last couple of days.
That's right, the first three rounds, and the big story for that would be Shedeur Sanders from Colorado, not drafted in the first round, not drafted in the second round, not drafted through the first three rounds. He is still on the board as we have round four getting underway a little bit later today. Your immediate takeaways from this, because as someone that's, admittedly not a massive college football fan, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I can compare him versus Cam Ward versus Jackson Dart in terms of their pocket presence, deep ball accuracy, whatever it might be. That's just not what I'm going to do. But this still is a bit of a shock to me that some teams not willing to take a shot on him. What's your initial takeaway, as we will get into this a little bit later in the show?
A bit of a shock. This is an absolute crushing. I mean, what is going on? I said my first thought is, what is going on here? What don't we know? All right, because remember, at some point, whether it was January or February, he was right there neck and neck with Cam Ward to go first overall. Okay, you want to go with Cam Ward, fine. Giants don't want to take a quarterback, fine. I never thought the Giants would take a quarterback because Dable and Shen are going to get fired. If they take a quarterback and don't win, 8, 9, 10 games this year. So Abdul Carter made sense there. Then he falls. Steelers don't take you at 21. Okay, that raised a couple of eyebrows here, especially when the Steelers don't have a second-round pick, so they weren't going to be able to take a quarterback. Then he's not in the second round. Then he's not in the third round. My first thought, Tom, is what don't we know? What is going on here? I know Matthew Berry posted last night that in a meeting that Sanders had with a couple of evaluators for teams, he didn't strike them very well. Right? It was almost like he wasn't interested. Now, some people attributed that he didn't want to go to those teams anyway, so he's tanking the interview. Barry mentions that in the article. Well, maybe maybe this comes off bad. But, Tom, even when you come off bad, if you have talent, they're taking you. It's the NFL. They don't care. You could go out and be a mass murderer. They're drafting you if they think you can help you win games here. So the fact that we are on day 3, fourth round, going to start in a couple of hours, and he's still not on a team, blows my mind.
Very shocking, to say the least. What team will take a shot on him? We'll get into some of the odds and or the rounds that he will be drafted a little bit later. But moving on into some baseball news, Devin Williams for the New York Yankees, he blew another save. We could certainly get into that. And then the NL is just racing towards the top of the MLB standings between the Cubs. They are awesome. The Padres continue to win. The Mets, they did blow a lead last night against none other than the Washington Nationals. And then, of course, injuries are sweeping across MLB, top to bottom, veterans, rookies, you name it. Let's get to Devin Williams first, George. You and I, both Yankees fans, just hasn't put the pieces together this season. Luke Weaver has been amazing. What's your take on this? Again, we will have a larger segment later in the show, so stay tuned for that. But Devin Williams blowing another save last night to the Toronto Blue Jays.
Yeah, it was not a good night last night. Okay, not very happy about that. As our man behind the glass, Sam Yarnell, knows, he's bothering me while I'm busy yelling at the TV at Devin Williams, who can't get anybody out. I mean, his location is bad right now. He's missing his spots, and he's missing them badly. We're not talking he's missing by inches. He's missing by feet. All right, he's walking people. He's getting hit. So the Yankees have a problem, and they got to figure out how to fix Mr. Devin Williams. And I wonder this with the Yankees, Tom. Brian Cashman, if they're going to remove him from the role, and that's an if, Cashman's got to admit, I might have made a mistake here. He traded for him. All right, and it's another trade right now. It's April 26th, so we do need to relax a little bit. All right, it's April 26th, but still, Cashman's got to admit, this is another trade right now that looks terrible. Even though Nestor Cortez, he may be gone for the season, he's got his own issues there. Caleb Durbin, the youngster, just got called up for Milwaukee, but it's another trade that's not panning out right now. I think they'll fix him. He'll be fine here. But, what was a joke that the Yankees may have broken Emmanuel Clase because of all his troubles from in the playoffs last year with Judge and Stanton? Well, maybe Alonso broke Devin Williams. It was that home run he hit off of him that really ended the Milwaukee Brewers season.
Right. Initially, I would say maybe a role swap a decrease in role for Williams could be a short-term solution. Just get him back, get his footing back. That would certainly be great to see. But as for the rest of the MLB, the Cubs, the Padres, and the Mets, they are all looking phenomenal. Not, some recent losses notwithstanding, the Cubs continue to pour in the offense. They had a rain delay yesterday. They end up coming with the win over the Phillies. Padres yesterday, they lost, if I remember correctly. They've lost 2 in a row, but they've ceased on the mound today. And then the Mets come from behind. They don't come away with a victory. NL really shaping up to be some of the best teams in the league. Is this what you anticipated coming into the league? We've seen the Dodgers kind of fall over the last few games. They lost last night to Paul Skeens, even though they had Yamamoto on the mound. NL, top of the league right now.
NL probably does have the best top 3-4 teams in baseball. The American League's a slog. Right, there's so many teams that are about the same here. Almost every team in the American League East. Tigers have a good pitching staff, can't really hit. Houston, Seattle. I mean, every team in the American League seems to have a big problem somewhere. National League has more well-rounded teams here. You go to the Mets here, they're actually doing a little bit of the opposite of what I expected from them. I thought they'd be a good team, but I thought it's because they would hit their way. Be sort of the 80s Yankees here, where they're going to score a ton of runs and give up a ton of runs here. Right now, we're sort of seeing the opposite. The offense really hasn't taken hold yet, but they are pitching better than I expected them to do. We'll see how that continues with guys like Griffin Canning, and Peterson and McGill. I don't know if they can do this all season long. Baseball is a marathon, not a sprint. Padres, you mentioned they lost 1-0 last night. They've been really good. Cubs have probably been the biggest. I think surprise is not fair. I mean, they were the favorite to win the division. All right, but it's who they're beating. They've already played all those big teams from the National League West, the Diamondbacks, the Padres, the Dodgers, and done very well here. You mentioned the win versus the Phillies yesterday, who were sort of free-falling here after getting swept by the Mets here. Phillies may have some issues here, but the Cubs have been very impressive. Not so much for the win total, because right now, like I said, they were expected to win, but for who they have beaten.
Right, and we're going to get to a certain point. It's a good mention that they have really done well against the NL West. They're going to play the NL Central a lot over the coming months, and there's a chance that they clean up on those teams and really extend the lead, get up there in terms of the wins. And I'm not going to say push towards the best record in the NL, because I think the Dodgers will ultimately be there alongside the Padres. But, man, the Cubs got through this first portion pretty handily, and now they can clean up on the Pirates and the Reds and the Cardinals when it's all said and done, and really start to pick up some wins. Outside of that, the injuries continue to mount across the league for a number of teams. We mentioned the Mariners. Can they get healthy? Logan Gilbert left last night's start early with forearm tightness. That's one thing that we should mention. He did not finish the game. They're already without Brash. They're already without Kirby. That pitching staff needs some help. But Luke Keyshaw for the Twins, one of their young players, recently called up, has been really solid over the past week, and he left last night due to a broken forearm. And then they traded for, who was it? Cody Clemens that they traded for, I saw last night. So we will get into more of that, but injuries continue to mount for especially some young players, George.
Yeah, I'm a big believer, and I say this all the time here. You're in a 12-team league. 4 teams are going to be eliminated because they don't pay attention. Now, they whatever. They're not really players. Another 4 teams will be eliminated for injuries. All right? And there's nothing they can do about it. All right? And then you just need to avoid those 4 teams. If I can avoid being one of those teams that gets hurt, well, then I'm there with the other 4 teams that are truly competing for a spot here. But we're seeing this early in the season. This is every year, by the way. We probably complain about this every year in every fantasy sport. You got to stay healthy. In baseball, we are seeing a rash of those arm injuries. And, Tom, we shouldn't be surprised. Like I said, it's the same story every season, especially early when they're maybe not quite warmed up yet. But we see these arm injuries over and over and over again.
We got plenty more to get to here on Fantasy Sports today. Myself, Tom Vecchio, George Kurtz, running things down across MLB. We'll touch on the NFL draft, key takeaways from players that have been drafted. Stay tuned right here on SportsGrid.
Shoot 2 of 17 from 3 and think you're beating Steph and Jimmy Buckets, a.k.a. Playoff Jimmy, Playoff him, Himmy, whatever you want to call him. You can't shoot that bad and compete in the playoffs versus the Warriors. SGA wasn't even that good. You want to talk about non-competitive series? People want to talk about getting rid of play-in. Maybe we need to get rid of the 8 seed because this 8 seed got their ass.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
They're so close that we're barely going to be getting any value on the plus side of things. I think there's a little bit of value on the Blue Jays today, but it's an awesome division. Like, I don't want to see teams running away and be up by 12 games in first place. We want to see teams constantly battling for first place.
They hit a team total. I love that. So as many times as we get bad beats, you do get the same amount of good beats, typically in your direction, if you wait long enough.
Pro baseball today, only on SportsGrid.
We know your other brother Marv did the Knicks forever, but you've done just about every team in the league. You did Ames, you did Dr. J Dames.
But after 45 years in this crazy business, people kept telling me, you got to write a book. So I did, and here it is.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
What's going on, and welcome back to Fantasy Sports Today right here on SportsGrid. My name is Tom Vecchio. I'm here with George Kurtz, and we are bringing you through the entire MLB fantasy landscape as of now. Let's get to a segment 3 up, 3 down, and, at the top, we have Dylan Cruz. And I'm not going to say this is solely because our producer Sam is a Nationals fan. Do we have to start with Dylan Cruz? Do we have to do the whole segment on Dylan Cruz? I don't know, George. Let's at least get to Dylan Cruz early, and let's get him out of the way because Sam wants us to talk about him the entire time.
Dylan Cruz, he came into the season. He was somebody you wanted, right? Doesn't play in a great ballpark for hitters, right? It is a pitcher's ballpark there in Washington, but you want them. Then he got to a slow start. And this is baseball. I can't say this enough. I do not panic about players in April. I just don't. I understand he was terrible for a while, right? Look, couldn't hit his way out of a beach ball. He was dropped in the lineup. You worried about him being sent down to AAA and all this other stuff. He goes to Colorado and seems to have figured it out. It's amazing what Colorado could do for you. They're a AAA organization there. But he's figured it out. He's hitting much better now. He's hitting for power. He's stealing base, which he was doing anyway. So he looks like he's back to being that player. In my home league, he was dropped. Like I said, people just lose patience so quickly. It's outfielders. All right, for the most part in fantasy league, you start 5 outfielders. You do the math, 12-team league, let's say 10-team league. Most leagues are 10 teams. That's 50 outfielders have to go. There's 30 Major League Baseball teams. Only 90 outfielders, period. Plus, you're going to have some taken at utility /DH. You have some taken as reserves. So you're talking about 70 outfielders are gone here, and you're dropping Dylan Cruz so quick. You got to be patient in baseball. You just have to be patient. I think Dylan Cruz is almost a poster boy for it. Not that he's going to be a great player. He's probably not going to win you a fantasy league, but he's a player you don't move on from so quick here. In my mind, I don't really worry about guys who I believed in coming into the season until I'm the holiday guy. Memorial Day is the first poll of mine. And then from Memorial Day to July 4th, I got to start making some moves. And July 4th on to Labor Day is, when you got to start winning your league here. So I wouldn't have panicked about Cruz, but a lot of people did. I think now you're seeing the real player.
Yeah, way too early to make judgments on players at this point in the season. If you believe in the talent and you drafted him and consensus ADP where it was on him, ultimately things were probably going to even out. Another young player, Jordan Beck for Colorado. Great week for him, continues to hit home runs. I would assume this is a player that's probably largely available in most leagues. Do you have any takes on him? Do you have any exposure to him on any season-long teams this year?
I do not believe I have exposure to him. Now it's Colorado, so we like that. It seems to be the definition of a player when they're at home. Okay, you want to start him. You're in a daily league, you got no issues there. But if you're in a weekly league, you start to look at schedules here. You ask me if I believe over the long season? No. All right, I do not believe. I think he will calm down. He's sort of the player that Dylan Cruz and Jordan Beck are different. Dylan Cruz, I would have had patience with, and I'm keeping on my roster. Jordan Beck, as soon as he cools off, he's the churn guy, sort of bottom of the roster guy that I'm going to churn over and over and look for whatever I need that week. If I'm streaming a pitcher, if I'm streaming this end or that, if I need a roster spot, if I have a banged up second base, I got to claim another second baseman. Well, Beck might be the guy I'm going to release. To move on from to shore up that spot here. Playing well right now, ride the hot streak, hot start, and then move on once he cools down. He's not a top prospect. I don't expect big things from him.
Yeah, you got to know what your league is after. Weekly locks, daily locks. I despise weekly locks. That's just me. Point notwithstanding, we move on to Byron Buxton for Minnesota, a player that has tremendous talent, but can seemingly never stay healthy. We're kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop. That's the way I like to put it when it comes to Minnesota, whether it be him, whether it be Royce Lewis. They have tremendous talent. The offense can be there. The hitting can be there. Multiple categories can be there. But will he be able to stay healthy and play 150 some odd games, whatever it might be? He's phenomenal right now. Obviously, this is a player that you are drafting knowing going into the season that there are injury concerns with someone like Byron Buxton, but he's hot right now, and I guess we got to just roll with it while we can, right, George?
Byron Buxton, this is his 11th year in the league. 102, 85, 92, 61, 39, 87, 28, 140, 92, 66. That's not how fast I was driving down to Florida last week. That's how many games played he has. All right. You notice how there was only one triple digit in there. All right. If you think he's playing 150, I got some swampland in Florida to sell you, a bridge, maybe some beachland front property in Iowa. I mean, come on. He's playing well. We all know this about Buxton. When he plays, he is a superstar, absolute superstar. The injury is coming. I have no problem with you drafting him, none at all. But if you told me you were expecting him to play, forget 150, 120. What
120. Okay.
What would you have put the over/under at? I wouldn't have made it 120, by the way. The average tells you probably in the 80s. 95.
Right. We would have to set the line high 80s, low 90s from a realistic over/under game perspective. I would like to have the confidence that he gets to the one teens.
Boy, I can't get there. Listen, I love the player, but he's not what is the most important ability in fantasy sports? Availability, and he ain't got it. He just doesn't have. It's a fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 10 times, I'm an idiot. So if you were counting on him, if this guy's a bedrock of your fantasy team, good luck to you. But the injury is coming. I don't know if it's coming in April. It's coming in May, but it's coming, and I know it's coming. So if I drafted him, I would have had to prepare for that and have extra outfielders on my team because so lady's getting hurt here. And you mentioned Royce Lewis, by the way. Another guy, by the way, he was Buxton, and he was sort of incarnated, but he should be back in about a week. All right, so he's on a rehab assignment, I believe, so he'll be back in about a week. But he's another guy can't stay healthy.
Now, for the other side of the coin would be players on the downswing. We can maybe get to this on the other side of break, but Rafael Devers, a player that started off super slow, came roaring back, and is now on that downswing. I assume he's a player you're just willing to be patient with.
You have no choice. He's a second-round pick. All right, so you're going to be patient with Rafael Devers. We were majorly concerned when he came into the season because of the shoulder injury. Didn't play much in spring training, and then of course he was angry because Bregman was playing third base, and he was going to have to move to designated hitter here. So there's a lot going on there. Then he started to hit again, and now he's slumping again. So once again, there's nothing you can do here. Not only are you not releasing him, you're probably starting week in and week out because you don't want to have him benched the week that all of a sudden he goes off and hits 6 home runs in 7 games and drives in 12 runs here. So you're living and dying with Rafael Devers right now.
Devers on the downswing. We have 2 more players to get to. We have some aces to touch on. Stay tuned. Other side of the break coming up right now. Fantasy Sports Today on SportsGrid. We'll be back.
that shoot 2 of 17 from 3 and think you're beating Steph and Jimmy Buckets, a.k.a. Playoff Jimmy, Playoff him, Himmy, whatever you want to call him. You can't shoot that bad and compete in the playoffs versus the Warriors. SGA wasn't even that good. You want to talk about non-competitive series? People want to talk about getting rid of play-in. Maybe we need to get rid of the 8 seed because this 8 seed got their ass kicked.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
They're so close that we're barely going to be getting any value on the plus side of things. I think there's a little bit of value on the Blue Jays today, but it's an awesome division. Like, I don't want to see teams running away and be up by 12 games in first place. We want to see teams constantly battling for first place.
They hit a team total. I love that. So as many times as we get bad beats, you do get the same amount of good beats, typically in your direction, if you wait long enough.
Pro baseball today. Only on SportsGrid.
We know your other brother Marv did the Knicks forever, but you've done just about every team in the league. You did Ames. You did Dr. J. Dames.
But after 45 years in this crazy business, people kept telling me, you got to write a book. So I did, and here it is.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
What's going on? We are back on Fantasy Sports today, right here on SportsGrid. We're going to pick up where we left off on the last segment between 3 risers and 3 fallers. We finished off with Rafi Devers, one of the fallers. Let's get to 2 more. Freddie Freeman, this is kind of in the same situation where you know where you drafted him. You're obviously not moving on from him. He's off to a slow start. It's been a weird season for him. He got scratched when they were, in Japan for the first 2 opening games. Then he came back. He went on the IL. I assume it's just a wait with what you have when it comes to Freddie Freeman.
It's certainly the Devers situation all over again, right? Came into the season with an injury, and we were concerned about it. You mentioned he missed the first couple of games in Japan, the Tokyo series there. Maybe the one big difference is second-round pick again, and you were probably worried during the draft season about picking him, but there were only, 5 good first basemen? I mean, Guerrero, Harper, Alonso, who we all had worries about at the same time, Olsen, and pretty much Freeman. That's it. We didn't have a lot there, so you're probably happy to get Freeman here. And now you're thinking, oh God, there's nothing you can do here. You're keeping him. You're more than likely starting him. It's not just Freeman, by the way. The entire Dodger team's not hitting outside of Tommy Edman. Where would the Dodgers be? The Dodgers, we thought were going to win 172 games in a 162-game season, but where would they be without Tommy Edman? I mean, this guy right now is a league winner. If he stops hitting, they may be in a lot of trouble. What Freeman's not hitting, Muncy has no idea what a baseball is. Mookie Betts hasn't done much. Maybe it's the food poisoning catching up to him, whatever it is. But he hasn't done much yet. You go up and down this lineup. No one's really hitting. I'll give Teoscar Hernandez some love. He actually is hitting.
Yeah, he's hitting. Now, Will Smith has missed a couple games. He went down with something. And then another team that's also not hitting would be the Baltimore Orioles, and Gunnar Henderson at the top of this list. The Orioles, I don't know what is going on with them because the roster is largely the same as we saw last year. They just cannot put together offense on a consistent basis, getting blown out by the Reds. And Gunnar Henderson, again, one of those players you just have to stick with at this point.
And what's the pattern here? All guys who are hurt, right? Devers, hurt. Freeman, hurt. Henderson, hurt. Right, all guys who are hurt in spring training are coming into spring training here who've gotten off to slow starts here. So once it's buyer beware. You made your choice here. Henderson might have been a first-round pick. He might have slid to the second round because of the injury, but these are guys who are hurt coming in. It's why I tend not to draft, or at least I don't want to draft multiple players who are hurt coming in. I certainly don't want to draft Henderson and a Buxton later. Guys who I know are going to get hurt again because you put yourself behind the eight ball. You just do here. Once again, I think Henderson will be fine, but I'm also the first person to tell you, Devers, Freeman, they have track records. I like to show my age check. You look on the back of the baseball card, and I know what these guys are going to do. Henderson is still in that, okay, I think he's a star. I think he's a superstar, but I don't know. Don't know yet. So I may be a little bit more worried about Henderson than these other guys. With that being said, nothing you can do. First, second round pick, you're not going to release him. I guess you could have a great shortstop on your roster where you could bench him for a week or a day, depending on what you play in a daily or weekly league, but I don't think I would do that.
No, not maybe you trade him away, but you'd be selling low. It's obviously not the thing you want to be doing. But let's move on to our ace of the week. And for you, you have I would say a rising ace out in the desert there with the Arizona Diamondbacks.
I do, Brandon Pfaadt. I think we are not talking about a number 5 starter here. He may have been the number 5 coming in because he won the last spot here. And that might be because Jordan Montgomery had the Tommy John surgery, and that's what gave him the spot here. Brandon Pfaadt's a pitcher. Okay, he is a pitcher. Listen, he's not Sandy Alcantara, all right? He's not Tariq Schoolwell. He's not of that ilk, but this guy can help you. The idea of this segment is someone who won you a week. Well, Brandon Pfaadt won me a week in my home league. So Brandon Pfaadt is my ace of the week.
Mine, I'm going to be turning to a player that got you started the week on the best foot possible. Max Meyer for the Miami Marlins. 14 strikeouts against the Cincinnati Reds on Monday. If you started the week, you're getting a 2-star week out of him. Absolutely fantastic. You keep the whip super low. You keep the ERA super low. The Reds lineup is dangerous at times. They also can leave a lot to be desired, swing and miss at times. And, great pitchers park there in Miami. You know what you're getting from him. 14 strikeouts, the 6 innings, no earned runs, no walks. He has another start coming up. I forget if it's later today or tomorrow, but a 2-star week out of him is absolutely fantastic. My ace of the week. We have some NFL draft news to get to on the other side of this break, some initial takeaways from the players. Obviously, as we move into the fantasy football season, before you know it, it may only be April, but basketball drafts are starting before you know it. We will touch on all the key takeaways from the key players being drafted in the first few rounds. Stay tuned. Fantasy Sports Today continues other side of this break right here on SportsGrid.
You cannot shoot 2 of 17 from 3 and think you're beating Steph and Jimmy Buckets, a.k.a. Playoff Jimmy, Playoff him, Himmy, whatever you want to call him. You can't shoot that bad and compete in the playoffs versus the Warriors. SGA wasn't even that good. You want to talk about non-competitive series? People want to talk about getting rid of play-in. Maybe we need to get rid of the 8 seed because this 8 seed got their ass kicked.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
They're so close that we're barely going to be getting any value on the plus side of things. I think there's a little bit of value on the Blue Jays today, but it's an awesome division. I don't want to see teams running away and be up by 12 games in first place. We want to see teams constantly battling for first place.
They hit a team total. I love that. So as many times as we get bad beats, you do get the same amount of good beats, typically in your direction, if you wait long enough.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
We know your other brother Marv did the Knicks forever, but you've done just about every team in the league. You did Ames. You did Dr. J. Dames.
But after 45 years in this crazy business, people kept telling me, you got to write a book. So I did, and here it is.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
What's going on, and welcome back to Fantasy Sports today, right here on SportsGrid. My name is Tom Vecchio. I'm here with George Kurtz. We did a brief section on some fantasy baseball. Let's turn to some fantasy football talk right now. Obviously, the NFL draft underway over the past few days. We had the first round on Thursday, rounds 2 and 3 yesterday on Friday. Round 4 will get going a little bit later today, but let's take a look at the top 10 picks. Obviously, these picks have a varying degree in terms of importance when it comes to fantasy football. Obviously, in general, it's great to see teams take offensive linemen. We're not going to touch on them specifically. That does bolster the passing attack, help keep quarterbacks safe, helps the rushing game overall. But we got to start right from the top, George, with Cam Ward going number 1 quarterback to the Tennessee Titans, and Travis Hunter, wide receiver / quarterback, going to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Obviously, they traded up to get to that spot. Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, what are your thoughts on them so far?
Yeah, I think it was a very chalky start to a draft, right? We didn't know that Jacksonville was going to make the big deal, although I talked with Joe Ranieri on Thursday, did mention that there was a lot of smoke, a lot of fire, that there was going to be a big trade. It happened here. Good for Jacksonville. You go up and get the best player in the draft. Travis Hunter was the best player in the draft. Not surprised that Cam Ward went first. We see this over and over again in the NFL. You cannot win unless you have a quarterback, and Tennessee did not have a quarterback. We'll never say that. No matter how much fun those memes are of him doing the weird things on the football field, he's not a starting NFL quarterback. He looks like to be a backup. So good for them. They went out and got the best quarterback in the draft, which Ward is. Whether or not he's a franchise quarterback, I don't know. He's the best quarterback in the draft, Tom, but I don't know if he's actually a franchise guy. I think he might end up being a Jag. Just another quarterback. Win you some games here, but not going to lead you anyway. You're going to need to build a team around him. So Travis Hunter, I love the pick for him. I think he will start out on offense here, mainly because you would need to be in those meetings. All right. Unless he's Deion Sanders. And what I mean by that is, unless he's like the guy you can go, Deion, go cover him. And that's it. Don't worry about the rest of the defense. And there's very few cornerbacks who can do that, who can just line up, with a Justin Jefferson no matter where he is. He's playing left side, right side, slot, go cover him. There's very few players who can do that sort of thing. He's not going to play 130 snaps in the NFL. All right, he's not. He's going to play probably somewhere around 90. I think he's going to be a full-time offensive player, and he'll play defense when it matters. At the end of the halves, 2-minute warning. More fourth quarter when you need, hey, when the game's on the line here, maybe to start the game to make sure the other team doesn't go to the fast start. So that's what I see Travis Hunter doing. But he was or is the best player in this draft. And it was a huge price to pay to go out and get him here. But I think it's in the end, this might be a trade where both teams win. Jaguars get the best player, and Cleveland gets a whole slew of draft picks to rebuild that organization.
Absolutely. It will be interesting to see where Hunter's ADP falls as we move on, not only through best ball, but, regular drafts, to see what kind of role will he actually have. Will it be full-time offense and a little bit on defense? Will it be more defense and a little bit of offense? Whatever it might be. The next big fantasy takeaway, at least from the top few picks, would of course be Ashton Genty going to the Las Vegas Raiders, a running back that set and broke records last year. This is a running back that is shaping up to be, I would say, the number 1 pick in dynasty drafts or rookie drafts, wherever you want to call it. I know for myself, I do have the number 1 pick in my dynasty league, and he is, of course, at the top of my list. I am very excited about him. Between him at 6 and then Ted McMillan at 8 going to the Carolina Panthers. Any thoughts on them?
Yeah, I've got my Dynasty League draft starting, I think it's 1, 2, 3, I think it's the 6th, May 6th is right when our draft is. This is a league where it's been running for, 15, 20. It's with the guys from SiriusXM, Jeff Mans, Ray Flowers, guys like that. So, we'll see. Jetty's going to go first. All right, we all know Jetty's going first. All right, but it's also for the first time that I can remember doing this league, running back. There are a lot of running backs, all right? He's not the only one. He is the clear first one. There's no doubt. Although, the Raiders' offensive line is sucks. All right, so they've got some issues there. I don't think he's running for. Oh, he's going to break Eric Dickerson's record. No, he's not. All right, they're going to be trailing in games. All right, so they're going to have to throw the football in the second half. And like I said, the offensive line just not very good. That being said, he'll have a good year. And he's the clear number one running back pick in fantasy, in dynasty leagues. And I'm more curious, where does he go in regular drafts? I mean. I think he's going to end up being a top 5, top 6 running back, even in regular drafts. It's going to put him in round 2.
Right. That's where I would lean. The dynamic, like you said, is obviously with Pete Carroll there now in Vegas. It's like we know what he wants to do, which is run the ball, but they also don't have the offensive line to do so. So I think a lot of his yards and production will come, essentially just based on attrition. Like the volume will be there for him. So he will be getting that. Some of that may not be ideal based on the offensive line and the game script going against him, but the role will be there for Genty. And like you said, the clear number one pick when it comes to dynasty. We had Ted McMillan going to the Panthers. We had Colson Loveland, the tight end, going to the Chicago Bears. Another tight end, Tyler Warren, going to the Indianapolis Colts. I have to say, it's clear that McMillan is probably the number 2 dynasty wide receiver behind Travis Hunter.
Yeah, as the Cowboy fan, I did want McMillan on Dallas, so it was a little disappointing that Carolina didn't go defense there, and they took the wide receiver. Listen, I don't have an issue with it as far as evaluating. Carolina needs skill position players, right? You want to find out for sure about Bryce Young. We got to give him some weapons here, and Adam Thielen's 35 years old. So good for them to going out and getting McMillan here. But as I said, as a Cowboy fan, I really was hoping for him. But I mean, he's not going to have a big season, right? Carolina they're developing, to put it nicely. And I think the jury's still out here on whether or not Bryce Young's your franchise quarterback. We'll see what happens. He certainly came on the last 6 games last season, 8 games of last season. So we'll see how that works out there. But certainly disappointed the Cowboys didn't get him. It was interesting at 10. I, like everybody else, at first I thought the Jets might take Warren. All right, but they didn't. They went to the offensive line, and I get it. Well, number team's offensive line sucks. All right, and you needed offensive line help. I thought their Jets might not take the offensive lineman because they had failed at taking offensive linemen in the first round over and over again, right? Just not working out. They don't develop these guys. They draft the wrong guys, whatever it might be. But they go, Membo, and we'll see how that works out. But Loveland or Warren here. Interesting choice. Bears and new coach. He must feel he fits that system better. Loveland goes here. We'll see how he becomes. I just found it interesting, Tom, because I know Cole Kmet's not great, but he's got 3 more years left on the contract, only 1 year of guaranteed money. But he was serviceable enough where he's average tight end, where I thought they might go in a different direction to fill another need here. So the fact that, once again, they took him 10th overall, makes me kind of think they have a plan for him. They're going to use him sort of like they Laporta, supposed to be used in Detroit.
Right, and that's really what it comes down to, obviously, with Ben Johnson there now as the Bears' new head coach. Amazingly gifted, creative offensive play caller. You give him the pieces, you give him a quarterback like Caleb Williams, you want to build these things together. Really does set up to be a big has been a big draft for the Bears and a big offseason for the Bears for them, to be in a spot to compete. As we move down, any thoughts on Tyler Warren going to the Colts? I think the talent is there with Tyler Warren. Who's going to throw him the ball? Because I'm not sold on Anthony Richardson. And is he going to be out there for a full slate of games the entire season? Just because the talent is individually with Warren, getting him the ball and having him be a useful option in the offense is a completely different story.
Yeah, you named the problem. All right, I believe in Warren. I wanted the Cowboys to take him at 12. All right, I wanted the Dallas to draft him at 12. I thought he would have solved 2 needs. Helps on the offensive line, and you give him another pass catcher. And I'm not a big believer in Ferguson. Once again, last year of his rookie contract. You can move on there. I like the move for Indianapolis. I do. He's better than anybody they have by far. But I'm with you. Richardson, don't know. I sort of lean no. Daniel Jones, or Scott West likes to call him Daniel Nichols. We know what's going on here. Anybody really believe this is happening? So that's my problem. I believe in the player. Not so sure I believe in the players around him or the players getting him the ball. That's going to be the issue.
Yeah, rough landing spot for him. We have more to get to. Other key players from the first round, the second round. We will touch on all of that. Stay tuned right here. Fantasy Sports Day on SportsGrid. We'll be back after this.
that shoot 2 of 17 from 3 and think you're beating Steph and Jimmy Buckets, a.k.a. Playoff Jimmy, Playoff him, Himmy, whatever you want to call him. You can't shoot that bad and compete in the playoffs versus the Warriors. SGA wasn't even that good. You want to talk about non-competitive series? People want to talk about getting rid of play-in. Maybe we need to get rid of the 8 seed because this 8 seed got their ass kicked.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
They're so close that we're barely going to be getting any value on the plus side of things. I think there's a little bit of value on the Blue Jays today, but it's an awesome division. Like, I don't want to see teams running away and be up by 12 games in first place. We want to see teams constantly battling for first place.
They hit a team total. I love that. So as many times as we get bad beats, you do get the same amount of good beats, typically in your direction, if you wait long enough.
Pro baseball today. Only on SportsGrid.
We know your other brother Marv did the Knicks forever, but you've done just about every team in the league. You did Ames. You did Dr. J Dames.
But after 45 years in this crazy business, people kept telling me, you got to write a book. So I did, and here it is.
Coast to coast. Only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The early line. Only on SportsGrid.
What's going on? Welcome back to Fantasy Sports Today, right here on SportsGrid. My name is Tom Vecchio. I'm here with George Kurtz, running through the NFL draft takeaways. Let's get right back into it. They drafted Emeka Egbuka yesterday to add to their wide receiver room, obviously with Mike Evans, aging veteran, Chris Godwin coming off an injury, Jalen McMillan, who we know is a young player, but adding Egbuka to the mix certainly makes things very exciting for them.
No, this sucks. If you're a fantasy player, this sucks. All right, because he's not going to get full. If you have McMillan, you're like, what the hell? What's going on here? Evans and Godwin are going to get theirs. Assuming my first thought was Godwin's rehab not going well? You know, is something going on here? We don't hear that. I think it's going to be going well, but I think this is terrible for Egbuka because he's not going to get full complement of snaps. He's not going to get first reads or second reads. It's Evans, it's Godwin, and McMillan. This kills him. And we're not even talking about Cade Otton, who's once again a decent tight end. I hated this spot for him. I didn't really understand the move by the Buccaneers. Did you just pay Godwin $1 gazillion to stay in Tampa?
Yeah.
And then you're drafting another wide receiver? It wasn't a position of need. Listen, if they were going BPA, which is how I believe in drafting, by the way, you do draft BPA, and McMillan's the best player available on their board, then I get it. But they needed defensive help here, and I would have been hard pressed not to go on the defensive side of the ball. I love the player, but I hate where he ended up. I think it's really a problem. Too many mouths to feed here.
Right. A good spot in terms of real life football from what they're able to do, but a bad spot from fantasy takeaways of we don't know where the ball is going to, and there's going to be no one predominant player. Another player I don't love the landing spot for would be Omari and Hampton going to the Los Angeles Chargers. Yes, it is going to be somewhat of a run first offense, but with Najee Harris there now for the Chargers, Hampton may seem like a player that is best suited for a dynasty draft pick, and or you're just waiting for an injury to happen for Najee Harris, who has been pretty healthy over the start of his career.
If you drafted Najee Harris, if you're one of those insane people that already had your draft for this season, why you do that is beyond me, but it happens. Or you had Harris in a dynasty league and you were all thrilled when he went to the Chargers. You're like, what the hell? Because his value just went plummeted. You just throw a brick in the water because that's what happened with him. He's done. Hampton's going to be the guy. Now listen, Harbaugh does want to run the ball on first down, second down, third down, fourth down. Give him a fifth down, he'll run the ball. That's what he wants to do. It's what he believes in. Run the ball, kill the clock, shorten the game, fine. So Harris still will have some value, but Hampton's going to be the guy you want. You don't draft the guy in the first round and not use him. So he's going to be that guy there. So my first thought was poor Harris. Get out of Pittsburgh, and you got the same problem. Actually, the problem I think is worse now with the Chargers because Hampton's a first-round pick. New toy, shiny toy. He's going to play.
Next up, we have Matthew Golden, wide receiver, going to the Green Bay Packers. The Packers finally select a wide receiver in the first round. Wide receiver out of Texas. This is also a spot that goes into a crowded wide receiver room. Romeo Doubs, Jaden Reed, they have Christian Watson, Dontavian Wicks. Although we have players that are being suspended, a player like Christian Watson can't stay healthy. So theoretically, I think it's a good spot. I'm not sure I'm in love with it, though.
Agree with you. I think you put it perfectly. Theoretically, it's a good spot. But there's a lot. Once again, when everybody's healthy here, there's a lot of mouths to feed. Who's going to get the ball? I understand there's no Mike Evans as far as a Hall of Famer here, but still there's a lot of choices. Hey, if I'm Love, who's ever open is getting the ball. When I make my pre-snap read, I'm looking to see who's got the best matchup. That's where my first look is going. So that's going to be an issue. Once again, he's a player I liked. I always bring up the Cowboys. Wouldn't have minded him. I don't think I would have taken him at 12 anyway, but I wouldn't have minded him on Dallas here. I like the funny meme. I think it was Warren Sharp who put it out, by the way, about Aaron Rodgers going, oh, yeah, they take 2 wide receivers and an offensive tackle? Now they do it. So I just kind of found that funny. He's on the beach with a talent. Look of bewilderment. Then again, he always has that look. So it is what it is there. But I like the player, just not the best landing spot.
Moving on to the New York Giants, who drafted Jackson Dart. I'm going to say a pretty good draft for the Giants overall. I was not expecting that from them. They take Carter at 3. They get Jackson Dart, obviously quarterback. Quarterback, franchise quarterback waiting, I should say. I assume there's going to be competition between him and Russell Wilson. We'll see Jameis Winston as the emergency quarterback 3 on most days. Initial takeaways from this.
The Giants should just go draft Shedeur Sanders now in round 4. Just go ahead. Let's have as many quarterbacks as we can possibly get in this room here. I said this over and over again. The Giants were not taking a quarterback at 3. I think I said it earlier in this show too. They could not. All right. Daboll and Shen we're going to get fired if they don't win. I'm guessing at least 8 games, if not 9. They'll get fired. I think Mara made a huge mistake here and not either giving these guys extensions or firing them to begin with. Because if Dart, let's say for giggles here, Dart barely plays this year because you got Wilson, you got Winston. The Giants win 5 games, you fire the guy. Well, then a new regime comes in and they may not believe in Dart. So what have you done here? So I think the Giants made mistakes that way. That being said, I thought the Giants were also clear winners in round 1, right? Abdul Carter, no issue with that. He'll help you win now, which is what they want to do here. And that defensive line for the Giants, by the way, is nuts. All right, so that's good. Jackson Dart, he's the guy you believe in. You didn't believe in Sanders. You didn't believe in Milroe, blah, 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 blah. All the other guys, fine. We'll see if you can develop them. But what's going on with Winston now? You signed him first. He's done. Tommy DeVito's is terrible anyways. Who cares? They say, I don't know why you say Wilson's going to be the starter, by the way. Let them all battle it out. Wilson doesn't deserve that kind of love anymore. He may be a Hall of Famer down the line, but he's not that kind of player now. I said, question marks here, but I love what the Giants did here. We'll see if Dart can become that player.
Next up, Jaden Higgins, as we're coming down to the end of the segment. I think this is a great landing spot. Obviously, Steph Diggs is gone. Tank Dell's coming back from the injury. We know how good Nico Collins is, but I think this is going to be one of the hot players, rookies that you want to be drafting. I think this is going to be one of the, you see in every article, and as we hit the summer months.
Once again, a player I would have liked to see in the Cowboys taking the 44th pick. I was hoping he would fall. He did not. He actually went earlier than most thought here. It's an interesting spot because, once again, a lot of mouths to feed when everyone's healthy. That being said, they do throw the ball. Stroud took a step back last year. Maybe it was because of all the injuries. All right, they all got hurt for different periods of time last year. So I think they want to build him back up, give him another weapon here. No problem with the pick. I just wish he would have fallen to the Cowboys.
Another one pass that they did not get. We'll get to more players on the other side of this break. We're coming up against it. Stay tuned right here on SportsGrid for more Fantasy Sports Today.
cannot shoot 2 of 17 from 3 and think you're beating Steph and Jimmy Buckets, a.k.a. Playoff Jimmy, Playoff him, Hemi, whatever you want to call him. You can't shoot that bad and compete in the playoffs versus the Warriors. SGA wasn't even that good. You want to talk about non-competitive series? People want to talk about getting rid of play-in. Maybe we need to get rid of the 8 seed because this 8 seed got their ass kicked.
Betting above the rim. Only on SportsGrid.
They're so close that we're barely going to be getting any value on the plus side of things. I think there's a little bit of value on the Blue Jays today, but it's an awesome division. Like, I don't want to see teams running away and be up by 12 games in first place. We want to see teams constantly battling for first place.
They hit a team total. I love that. So as many times as we get bad beats, you do get the same amount of good beats, typically in your direction, if you wait long enough.
Pro Baseball today. Only on SportsGrid.
We know your other brother Marv did the Knicks forever, but you've done just about every team in the league. You did Ames. You did Dr. J. Dames.
But after 45 years in this crazy business, people kept telling me, you got to write a book. So I did, and here it is.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast. Only on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
We are back on Fantasy Sports today, right here on SportsGrid. My name is Tom Vecchio. I'm here with George Kurtz. We are running through some of the draft picks from the first 2 days of the NFL draft, round 1 on Thursday, rounds 2 and 3 yesterday on Friday. We are getting to some of these players, obviously, as key fantasy takeaways moving into the draft months. Quinshon Judkins for the Cleveland Browns running back was taken out of Ohio State. He stays close to home or close to his college home. George, what do you think?
Once again, replaces Nick Chubb. All right, don't expect him back there. Another player, once again, hoping the Cowboys are going to grab him. Didn't work out. I mentioned earlier, there are some running backs. There's another one coming up that we haven't even talked about yet. Running backs that that could have gone at the end of the first round here. It's almost changing, Tom. You know, listen, I've been playing fantasy football since the late 80s. All right. Back then, running backs dominated fantasy football. Your first 2 picks were likely running backs. It was a running league. 90s was pretty much similar. Then we started to become a passing league. All the rules changed towards passing. Now, the rules haven't changed, but we're seeing running backs become more and more valuable now. Is this the Saquon Barkley effect here? We'll see. All the damage he did for the Philadelphia Eagles last year. But, I like where he ended up. Listen, I know that they what did they take? Dylan Gabriel late in the draft, I think, for their quarterback. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I don't expect much. They're going to be trailing in games here. I think they're going to try and shorten games, so maybe he'll have some value here. But I don't see a big season coming from Judkins off the bat here. But I do like, Judkins as a player.
Next up, we saw Travion Henderson go to the New England Patriots, another running back, as you were alluding to, another Ohio State running back being drafted. Again, I think it's a good spot. It's not overwhelming. It doesn't jump off the board to me. I think it's good.
Okay. They took Will Campbell, so you helped the offensive line there, but it's still not – I mean, Henderson's going to get the ball. They don't have much else there. All right. I'm not worried about Ramondre Stevenson. He's an average running back, right? He's a jag. So you're not worried about him there. He's going to get the ball, but almost like Judkins here, unless May takes that next step where he truly is a threat, I don't know if he can do that without any help at wide receiver. They did try doing it, all right? You tried to get Godwin. He took less money to stay with Tampa Bay. What are you going to do? So I, once again, like the player, don't expect him to have a big season off the bat in New England. Now, it's going to take a little bit here. Like I said, I like Henderson and Judkins, by the way, more in dynasty leagues. We're going to have them 2-3 years down the line where I expect them to play better than I do in redraft leagues for this season.
Right. And that is a key difference to be making between when and how you are evaluating players and when you're drafting them. Next up, wide receiver out of Mizzou, MIZ. Luther Burden going to the Chicago Bears, adding another offensive weapon to Ben Johnson to give to Caleb Williams. I see this as a great few picks for the Chicago Bears and their offseason.
Yeah, you're going to see what Chicago, what are they doing for agency? Fix the offensive line. Well, they think they fixed the offensive line, right? Because Caleb Williams, he was a constant jailbreak last year. Hike, and then he's running for his life. All right, now they've theoretically fixed that. You're giving him some more skill positions to throw the ball to, like what they've done here. And it's one thing that seems to be a common thread here in the early going of the second round, a player I was hoping would fall to the Cowboys at 44. But they all went early. All the running backs, all the skill positions went early in round 2. You know, your teams actually believed in them as well here. As you said it, and I agree with you, love where he ended up.
Next up, a spot that I'm relatively interested in would be Pat Bryant going to the Denver Broncos. I like the Broncos passing offense, but it's generally just Cortland Sutton and then a bunch of other players that we're not sure who the ball is going to. Bring in a top-end talent like Pat Bryant. I think this is a favorable spot for him and the Broncos offense overall.
Yeah, it's sort of what you believe in with Bo Nix. You know, is he going to take the next step to be that guy? Now, once again, when I say that guy, I'm not talking, Josh Allen. Always going to be that guy. No, I mean, just take the next step in his progression. I don't think Bo Nix is ever going to be a franchise guy, is what some people mean, but can he be a good, solid NFL quarterback? And I think he can, and Bryant will need that here. So I don't mind the spot as well. As you said, other than Sutton, not much there.
And then as we're coming up to against a break, Caleb Johnson, running back from Iowa State. Iowa, not Iowa State, all over the place. They get a running back to Pittsburgh after they let Najee Harris go. I think this is, again, a nice landing spot. We know it's going to be an offense that's still under question because they still don't have a quarterback.
Listen, we can do the rest of the show on what's going on in Pittsburgh at quarterback. You didn't take a quarterback at 21 here. Is Aaron Rodgers, is that where Aaron Rodgers is going? Because without a quarterback, I don't care about Caleb Johnson. I just don't. He's going to get the ball because they don't have anybody else. They can't do anything else on offense here. But what Pittsburgh has done so far is weird. Maybe they take Sanders today.
We will certainly find that out later today as the draft starts. Stay tuned right here on Fantasy Sports Today. SportsGrid will be back after this.
You cannot shoot 2 of 17 from 3 and think you're beating Steph and Jimmy Buckets, a.k.a. Playoff Jimmy, Playoff him, Himmy, whatever you want to call him. You can't shoot that bad and compete in the playoffs versus the Warriors. SGA wasn't even that good. You want to talk about non-competitive series? People want to talk about getting rid of play-in. Maybe we need to get rid of the 8 seed because this 8 seed got their ass kicked.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
They're so close that we're barely going to be getting any value on the plus side of things. I think there's a little bit of value on the Blue Jays today, but it's an awesome division. Like, I don't want to see teams running away and be up by 12 games in first place. We want to see teams constantly battling for first place.
They hit a team total. I love that. So as many times as we get bad beats, you do get the same amount of good beats, typically in your direction, if you wait long enough.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
We know your other brother Marv did the Knicks forever, but you've done just about every team in the league. You did Ames. You did Dr. J. Dames.
But after 45 years in this crazy business, people kept telling me, you got to write a book. So I did, and here it is.
Pharrell, Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.